Hey everyone, it's Angus here. I wanted to do a video this morning after the large sell-off last night across most markets. The Dow, the Nasdaq, most of the sort of major indexes were down. Let's say 2.5 to 3% at some stage during the night, and they recovered a little bit this morning. But what I wanted to try and show you is a way that you can find shares that held up well during this big, or not. It's not a correction yet, but during this sort of a bit of a sell-off. And I wanted to show you a way we can combine technical indicators with financial indicators, so you can kind of get best of the both worlds. If you pretend that, probably, 60 to 70% of the market still looks at fundamentals, and on TradingView, just because of the nature of it, most of us look at technicals. What's happening in the chart. I just thought, this is a way to take advantage of both worlds, so you can kind of get a consensus between technical traders and fundamental traders, which stocks are probably performing well, and how to, perhaps focus on those, especially during these turbulent times. So, as always, it's certainly not advice. It's just a method of you trying to narrow down a list of stocks that you might want to do some more investigation or due diligence around. So all I've done is I've got my standard chart, so nothing special. And what I'm going to do is use the stock screener. And so I've already got my columns set up. These are the columns that I like to use for this sort of a scan. And so what I'll do is I'll make sure I save them. I'll go save columns as Angus Momentum once I've set them up. And I'm going to save as I add my indicators in, or my filters in rather. Then I'll save that on this right-hand side so I don't lose them. So what I've got across the top is I've got my universe of stocks. So I've got 8,500 US stocks. And what I'm going to try and do is find the ones that I think are better quality stocks, that didn't sort of collapse overnight and head down with the market. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by saying, show me all the stocks that didn't go down more than 1%. So I'm going to say, show me all the stocks that are above -1 last night. And so you can see there's 3,300 stocks that didn't go down, or didn't go down more than 1%. It's only down 0.1, 0.4, 0.89. And so I could sort these stocks now and say, well, let's go through them. Which one, this one was up despite the market crashing. This one was up last night. But to me, that's not a great quality stock. It's obviously rallied on news. So it's not a stock that's a sort of a long-term buy and hold for me, just with this particular strategy of trading. Blab by a lab, so again, all over the place. So it's not a good-looking stock that I'd want to trade. Again, crazy. So how do we filter these out and get better-looking stocks? So what I'd do next is I say, well, I want to find stocks where they're making money, or they're getting a bit of revenue in. So they're not going to be super speculative. So I'm going to say, let's find all the stocks with the EBITDA, and you could use income. Sometimes I'll use net income. You can use whatever sort of fundamentally oriented indicator you like. So you can click on these little three dots here, and if I added income, for example, I could say show me what their net income is, and I could filter by net income. Let me just move this. So see, I've now got income as a column. You could add PE, you could add whatever you like, but so for my purposes, I'm just going to use EBITDA, just to say I want to see that they've got some sort of revenue, and some sort of earnings as part of what they're doing. Right. So the next thing I want to do is I want to say only show me stocks where they've got a bit of liquidity. They're doing, let's say 100,000 trades over the last 90 days. And so you can start to see I've gone from my 8,000 stocks down to 572. I'm now going to say, show me all the stocks where their yearly performance is above at least 50%, because I want to see stocks that are in a uptrend overall. And I can say, well, over 3 months, I really want stocks that have done something. So I want to see a stock that's up at least 10%. And you can change any of these values yourself. You put in whatever you like. And at this point, what I'm going to do is say, well, there was a bit of a pullback, over the last couple of periods. So all I want to do at this point is I just want to find stocks where they haven't gone backwards. So they're up, they're up above zero, up above 0%. So, they've made some sort of progress. And you can see now I'm down to 22 stocks. And so I think, that's pretty good. I could go through here and I could say, don't show me any stocks below, let's say $5. Get rid of any sort of penny stock type things. last price, but no, sorry, I want to show last price above $5. Right, so that's, it's got rid of any of these little penny stocks that might have existed in my search. So now I've got 22 matches, and so what I want to do now is I'm going to go across to here, and I'm going to sort by yearly performance. So I'm going to start with the ones that have been doing the best most recently. So I'm going to click on IMDb, and you can see, beautiful left to right chart. That's one that could be quite interesting. This is one I actually hold a position in, just by coincidence. It's something that I've bought previously, and you can see that, I've got an open trade on it using TradeStation within TradingView, and I've just marked up where I bought it and what I'm doing. So the thing to do now is on this right-hand side, you've now got a little bit of information. You can see in the post-market, this stock is now at 0.18. So not only did it only go down 1% last night, so it held up fairly well, but in the post-market, you can see that people are already buying back into it. But the thing I wanted to show is if I scroll down, this little income statement summary is really what I want to look at. So I can see that, for the blue bars are revenue, and so you can see revenue's been gradually increasing, so that's great news. Net income, so my green bars again have been steadily increasing, so that's great news. My profit margin's going down a little bit, but that's okay. Like it's still highly profitable. It's just not as profitable as it was last year. But to me, so that's a good looking stock from a technical point of view. The charts left to right is great. And then the financial statement, there's obviously a lot more financials. If you click on more financials, you can go through and do, much greater in-depth analysis if that's what you'd like to do. But it's showing me that, net income, over the that's trailing, I think it's trailing 12 months. Trailing 12 months? I'm pretty sure it's trailing 12 months. So you can see that over the last 12 months, the income's up 70%. So, to me, that's a good sign of, a stock that's doing, reasonably well. You can look at your balance sheet, your cash flow, your statistics, whatever it is that you like to look at, and then close the Lex up the top right. Now, the only other thing I'd like to look at is I'd like to look at how volatile is it, so that looks like it's fairly smooth, but what I've got stopped out, a lot of times along the way. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. A tool that I like, super simple, is just add two moving averages. So I've got my 20-day and I've got my 50-day, and all I'm looking at is saying, did the 50 and the 20 cross a lot? And so in this one, they didn't cross very much. So I think, geez, that's not a bad looking stock. I'm going to shortlist it. So I'm just going to go down here and I'm going to tick. I'm going to make it green. Green is good. So I'm going to shortlist him, make him green, and I'll click on this to green. And so you can see he's now in my shortlist where I can do more due diligence later. Let's have a look at the next one. So the next one is car. So he's a little bit more lumpy. So he's sort of gone up. He's pulled back, but that could be pulled back into a better value sort of area, and he's sort of taken off again. So he's only crossed a couple of times on this moving averages. So let's go and look at his his financial profile and see what we think of him. You can also see he's up 0.07 in the post market, which is a good sign. So let's go and have a look here. Well, here we can see that his revenue hasn't really been increasing very steadily. That's actually a negative. So even though it's green, you can see the net income is minus 684 million, and his profit is going down. So he's a company that's perhaps heading the wrong way from my point of view with this sort of analysis that I want to look at. So even though he's up price wise, his fundamentals aren't great. So you can imagine that a lot of fundamental traders might not have that one on their short list. Let's look at the next one, XEC. So again, looks good. It's green lines above the red line. For most of that period, it's crossed once with a bit of a pullback. It's going back up. The RSI here is quite high. Yeah, that's what I sort of look at for my value area. Let's look at his financials. So again, wow, he's had a big plunge in net income over the last 12 months. So he's one that I'd probably move on to my maybe look at later list, but certainly not now. Red Rocket Resorts, so again, nice, the green line's above the red line for most of the trade. It's having some sort of a pullback. I must have done some sort of analysis on it before. What did I do? Basically what I said is it was, compressing down into here as a wedge, so it looked like it was going to break out, and sure enough did, so that was, well done me. Let me get rid of that and get rid of that, and then let's go and look at his financials. So post-market, there's no sort of sign of any... Just my alarm's going off. And so again, you can see his financials don't look good. That's negative. His price has gone up, but his fundamentals aren't looking as strong as some other stocks. All right, ARCB. And so again, going up, not too bad. Going up, not too bad. Let's go and look at his fundamentals. So his revenue's, pretty strong. His profit margin looks like it's going up, and his net income is at least positive. It's not particularly strong, but it doesn't look too bad. So I'll add him to my short list to go and investigate later. Right, IT. So look at that, beautiful looking chart, going straight up, hasn't really crossed anywhere. My RSI is saying he's at pretty good value at the moment. Post market, he's down a little bit, but he was actually up for the day. So, that's, maybe up marginally for the day. But if I scroll down, let's have a look at this. Right, so great looking fundamentals from this little summary statement. This is all I'm looking at before I go and do a deeper, dive. So, revenue's pretty much up. A little bit of a dip, in 2020. His net income, you can see is steadily increasing, and his profit margin is going up nice and steadily. So, great looking chart. Reasonably looking, good looking financials there. So I'm going to shortlist him as well. RRC. So, a bit more volatility in this one. So, a bit more of a jumping around. Probably not one that I'd trade looking at that. And then you can see his income statement. He's all over the place. So he's one I'd pass on. Teradata. So again, a little bit lumpy, a bit all over the place. Let's look at his fundamentals. Not too bad. Like they're sort of a bit, up and down. But the volatility here is, a bit more extreme. So I'll add him, but he's probably one that I'd have further down my list. Right, let's look at Atlassian. So team, really taken off in this last part of the year. Going up quite quickly. Let's have a look at what they've got down here. So again, revenues or net income rather is down. So again, one that I'd pass on. Repligen. Again, going up gangbusters lately, a bit volatile through here. Looks like he's overpriced, so I wouldn't probably put a trade on that one. Pretty good looking fundamentals, so left to right going well, and his revenue started to pick up. So I'll shortlist him to have a bit of a look at him later. But here's a stock that I would probably say I think he's a bit expensive at the moment. So I'm going to say add an alert and send me an email when he gets down to, let's say, 65, and say back at the value area, investigate, create. And so now I'll get an alert, when he crosses back into what I think is a value area, that sort of 65 on the RSI. PCTY, let's have a quick look. So he was up last night, up 1.21, so well done to him. Good looking financials, the profit margin sort of coming down a bit, but you can see that his revenue year on year is just increasing. His net income's increasing. So again, he's one that I'd shortlist, a little bit volatile through here. Again, probably a little bit expensive, but, I'd certainly, have a good look at him. AVTR, so I put an order in on this one this morning, after the market, after the US market closed. You can see, it's maybe a little bit expensive. Great looking chart left to right, up a little bit in the post market, and you can see here, pretty good financials. It's just going left to right, up. Revenue's increasing, net income is increasing, and profit margins going up. So he's definitely one that I'd want to look at later. PPC, bit of a crazy chart, had a massive gap up through here, so not one that I'd want to trade, because there's a good chance it might close that gap depending on what caused it. And so have a look here, and so again, his profit's going straight down, his revenue's gone down, so one I'd probably avoid. PAYC, and so again, it's had a bit of volatility through here. It's crossed a few too many times for my liking, and these sort of big swings I don't like. Why would you sort of overlook it? PAYC when you can see one like AVTR that's just so smooth. Such a good momentum stock. So let's have a look at PAYC's financials just before we write him off. Financials look good. Profits going down, but if two out of three of these are good, then I'd probably shortlist him and have a better look at another time. CSAD, no idea what these guys do. So another funny gap up, so I won't bother looking at him. ODFL, so Freightliners, great looking chart, not too many crossovers. Post market, saying it's a bit neutral. Let's look at his financials. So again, quite reasonable. So 2 out of 3 things are going up. You can see his profit margins going up, his net income's going up, his revenue's a little bit flat across the top, but so that's still one that I'd like to look at. So let me click on him, and you can see, he's up 63% over the course of the year. So, he's not doing too badly. John Bean, let's go through these a bit quicker. So bit volatile, a bit lumpy through there. Not marvelous, not bad, but I think I've got enough of my stocks that I want to look at. So HLI is going well. Good looking, everything's up. So 3 out of 3 things are up. So I'm going to shortlist him. TNet, again, a little bit volatile. Postmark is at 0.03, might be a bit expensive. Looks good, so I'm going to shortlist him. DHR, great looking chart, going up nice and steady left to right. Let me get rid of that. Good looking financials, so I'm going to shortlist him. ICLR, again, going up pretty steadily, a little bit of volatility through here. And, most of the things are going up. Profits going down, but I'll still shortlist him. SNTC, bit too volatile, not one that I particularly like the look of, and a bit all over the place on that one, so I'll pass him. And so that's the last of them. So that's now my list of the stocks that I want to kind of have as a short list, and they're the ones that I'll sort of continue to do a bit more research on and see if I like them or not. And all I do is, now that I've got them highlighted, this is important, I'd go click on this one up here, and I'd go make a copy, and I'd call this research, and I might go research. Let's say the 20th of September, so that I know that that's my list to look at today. And now that I've got my filters in place, see how there's a little asterisk next to this Angus Momentum. So I want to click on that, and I want to go save screens as, and I want to name it. So then I've got my filters set up. So I've now saved my filters. And because I've got my columns in place, I've just added this income one. I don't really want to save that one. But the other way of doing this is you can also say, well, let's get rid of EBITDA and get rid of him. And then say for income, let's see stocks where their net income is up. So let's say net income of 100 million. Let's see if I get any different stocks. So MOH, he looks interesting. Not bad, but let's shortlist him. JBT looks all right. Not great, so I'll pass on him. I'm only looking at the ones that have been added otherwise. So I was only adding those two when I did net income. So, for now I'm happy to use EBITDA. So I won't save that setup. Oh no, what I will do is I'll go back to it. So I'll say EBITDA, what do I say? I don't know what I said, 100 million. And then get rid of my income column. So reset filter, remove that column. And then what I'm going to now do is I'm going to save this. So I've got my filters in there, and I'm going to save my columns as Angus Momentum, which looks like it's already saved because there's no asterisk. But the interesting thing to do now is, now that you've got your sort of filters in place that says show me the stocks that are holding up reasonably well, you can now basically send this as an alert. So I can now click on my little alert symbol, and I can say send email until this time. Today's the 21st, so let's say until this time next week, send me an email and say new Angus Momentum Plus stocks. And so if there's any new stocks that now come up that meet this criteria, I'll get an email sent to me that I can then click on and open and see which stocks are meeting this new criteria. So I don't know if that was useful or not, but I just like the idea that you can start to go through and have a quick look at this little income statement here. It's a great little thing to look at, because it's so simple just to get that quick glimpse of whether the stock's heading the right way or not. And especially in times where the market's doing one of these sort of fairly large corrections, or bit of a drop. It's not technically a correction. It's not technically anything other than people doing silly things at the end of September, which always happens. But It's a question of whether this is going to keep going or not. Anyway, thank you very much for listening.